Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum to your audience. You are listening to the discussion aisle, and I'm your host Sohaib Bin Noor, only on Plant FM 87.6. And dear audience, as always, we have once again a special guest, and on your special demand. And once he just visited our studios, and you just requested that you need him to be back on our in our studios to discuss more on how to live a balanced life. And today we are going to discuss that how we can have such substances, such material, and such elements in our life to live a beautiful and a balanced life. And of course, our Dean of Clinical Psychologist, Dr. Arslan Akhtar Ali, is in our studios, and we're going to discuss that what are the main factors that are involved to keep ourselves more positive, more balanced, and more enjoyable. And what are the main elements or factors that keep us away from such things, and especially that we can enjoy and we can see the witness the beauty of life. So today once again, Mr. Arslan Akhtar Ali, very much welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thank you so much for inviting me in this show, and Alhamdulillah, I'm fine and hoping for the great health for yours and your audience as well.
Thank you so very much. And Arslan, once again, just want to know that hope you have traveled a lot, and you're doing good and you're doing well, and of course with a good health and spirits you are in our studios. Just want to know that as our audience always like to know how to live a balanced life.
Actually, there's an issue, like people want to live a balanced life and a positive life at the same point. But like if we go through the philosophy, let's start from there. If I talk about Confucius, he was the first modern philosopher who talked about the balanced life, and then afterwards Aristotle was the another philosopher who did that. The problem is that whenever you talk about the balanced life or you want to live a happy life, life isn't itself anything. You have to make sure that you have all of your emotions in your mind. Like sometimes you will feel happy, sometimes you will feel sad, and you have to go through all of those emotions and situations. And life is all about living out of your comfort zone. Firstly, in order to live a balanced life, you need to learn and train your mind to live out of your comfort zone. Once you are doing that, afterwards you need to accept that you're not supposed to become positive or anything like that. You're not supposed to become happy as well, because it's a psychology of mind. Whenever you pursue for something, your mind develop you and overwhelm you into more negativity. The main thing is that you need to train your mind. Whatever life will throw at you, whatever nature will throw at you, accept it, and then have a constructive approach, not a positive approach. There's a difference between constructive approach and a positive approach. For example, if you have some financial crisis and you start thinking that, well, and you don't have any means of fulfilling those financial crisis, your mind would not accept it until you will not go for a constructive approach. The constructive approach is that sit down and tell your mind what you can do to earn money. You cannot distract your mind for something else, like I will go to play cricket in order to resolve this conflict in my mind, and I will not feel anxiety or depression. So whenever you want a balanced approach, whatever life problems are thrown into your mind, just think of a constructive approach, what you can do within your limited and resources, on cognitive resources. For example, you have your own mind, you have your own cognitive resources, you have your own physical resources. If you will ask me to run a 72-kilometer marathon, I would not be able to do that, not even a single round. Why? Because my physical resources are not right now at that point. So you have to look at your spiritual resources and all of your social and your surrounding resources as well. You need to train your mind to go for the constructive approach in such a manner that you can utilize those resources and you can bring out the resolution of a conflict. Not to become positive or to happy, but to tackle that problem or issue. Automatically you will start living a balanced life, and you will start dealing all of those issues in a very constructive manner, instead of distracting your mind towards your lofty goals or something which is in the name of positivity, like motivational speakers and all of that stuff.
You're right. And in your intro, you just said that you need to come out of your comfort zone. How do you elaborate that?
Let me tell you. For example, if I talk about myself, I'm a person who loves Islamabad, and whenever I leave Islamabad, I start having panic attacks. I'm talking about myself, and now this is my comfort zone, and I'm a person who wants to work with specific people. And whenever I meet people who are not according to my psyche, I start having panic attacks. Now, what I have to do is that I have to start from it depends upon my mental training. I started from my virtual trainings. I started watching videos which were exposing me towards those people who were leaving their comfort zones. Then what I do is that I started going to Rawalpindi. I started spending my time over there. I used to get panic attacks, but I used to face those because there's a cost-benefit model in psychology. There's a cost of life. Pain is the cost of life. Everything has a cost. But if you're not setting up the benefit, then you're not being able to have a balance. For example, when I was going to Rawalpindi, there was the cost of the panic attack, which was given to me by my mind. But what I was doing, I was living in that cost while thinking of a benefit. The benefit was that one day I will visit the whole Pakistan, being a doctor of psychology, and everybody will know me. And certainly I started spending 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and afterwards I became very comfortable in such a manner that now I go throughout any country, and in any situation I don't feel any panic attack. What we people do is that when we are paying the cost, we only want to pay the cost and we try to escape. And that cost is not very hazardous or dangerous for your mind. Those are just your mental manipulations. And once you get out of that, once you pay the cost, because you have to pay, but with the constructive approach, and you want to get a specific benefit, then you are being able to train your mind, and your responding becomes more in your control. Basically, your mind works automatically. But what you have to do is that you have to respond manually. When your minds become habitual in responding automatically to your cost, to your panic attacks, to all of those things, then you're not being able to get out of your comfort zone. You suffer throughout your whole life while having antipsychotics, antidepressant, mood stabilizers, and neither you live a life.
Okay.
And sorry, I just want to give example of my client.
Sure.
Whenever he was having financial issues, and it's been like 3 years. He have been, for example, he's into severe depression. He met me. Now he's living a very better life. It's a successful case. I don't want to take the name. And he every morning he used to text me, "Thank you so much." For example, he was also looking for the help, so credit goes to him as well. He did it. I told him one thing. For the last 3 years, you've been having panic attacks. You are on your bed. Your wife has left you. Your daughters don't like you for your behavior because you have uncontrolled aggression. Did you were being able to resolve your financial crisis? He said no. I said, but you are paying the cost for that. I said, for the next 3 years, you will pay the same cost and you will stay over here. I said, let's do it. I said, go to a store. He said, what should I do? I said, what you are good into? He said, I'm good into accounts. I said, become a cashier in a store. He went down there and he used to tell me, doctor, I'm having panic attacks. What you're doing with me? You're doing very wrong with me. I said, face that panic attack. But force yourself each day. Force yourself that you are already paying the cost, but you have to get the benefit. Now he's owning a store, and now he's living a very good life. So you have to pass through the pain, pass with the dignity, and don't escape. Don't run away from the pain. Face it. I have done it myself. And then you would be able to overcome your mental fallacies and all of those, your automatic responding, and your mind is playing with you, and you would be able to get out of your brain manipulations.
Okay, so the main thing is courage. You need to build that, and you need to face whatever you're going to face. Exactly. And as you talked about the panic attacks, how do you measure these panic attacks? Are they tangible or intangible? Are they in the mind only, or are they harmful? What will you say?
It's a very great, you have asked me a very great question. For the first time when I was 14 years old, I got my first panic attack, and I was telling my mother that I need to go for an ECG because I'm having continuous pressure on my heart. So I went down there, and ECG was all normal. Then I went for MRI, it was all normal, and all of the medical doctors said he is all right. And my mother said you are all right, your medical tests are cut and clear. But the problem is that the panic attacks are intangible. These are the brain manipulations. Wrong messages, we can say false messages, false messages. How this starts happening, your brain have a amygdala, which is, for example, the purpose of the amygdala is to look for the fears which are prevailing in your surroundings and inside yourself, which is a very good thing. For example, it guides you. Your fight and flight mode guides you, when to escape and when to fight. But what happens when you are into so much stress, anxiety, and depression? The reasons can be anything, and what happens? The flight and fight mode becomes automatic, and it gets activated for prolonged periods. Now brain starts working in vigilance, and your brain is already finding and searching fears for 24/7 hours. In this way, your brain is not enough capable to control those fears. Now how he will tell you, now he is doing a great thing to tell you that I am in fear, please survive, save me, and this is happening to me. For example, if a person is drowning in water and telling please save me, so what happens, he started sending fire messages to your hippocampus. And now what happens, your hippocampus controls your involuntary functions. For example, your heartbeat, your muscles, all of your involuntary functions, your eye movements. So when the fire messages went and processed in hippocampus, these fake messages, you start feeling something which is not actually happening. For example, your heartbeat is rising, your heartbeat is decreasing, but it's not actually doing that. Your circadian clock is all right, like it's like they're enjoying, and your brain is just playing. Your brain, if your brain will tell you there's something, you have to believe it, because the brain is the most powerful weapon.
Exactly.
And when it's out of your control, he's telling you that Mr. Or Miss, I am having a great problem, and he will tell you what problem with your physical symptoms, and now you will become hyperactive. Like what is happening to me, and you will be losing yourself. Why? Because you haven't trained yourself to control that panic attack, and then you will be moving towards doctors and losing money on your different tests, which is not required. You just need to control and manage your panic attack.
Exactly.
While telling your mind, the first stage is that it is nothing dangerous. It's not like harmful. It's just a fire message. I just need to control. From where it started, from a thought. You have to learn to control those thoughts and cycles of the thoughts and behaviors, those certain behaviors. And that requires sheer hard work, and people are not willing to do that. They are willing to pop out the pills.
Exactly, you're much right. And what do you think? What are the main factors that are involved in the ignition of such panic attacks?
If you talk about the initials of the panic attacks, there can be two reasons. Number one, genetic reason. And genetic reasons corresponds, for example, like I don't go for such genetic reasons because genetic reasons plays the roles. But it is proven that the genetic reasons cannot put you in the severe levels of the depressions if you have been getting good environment surroundings. For example, primary institution is your family, secondary institutions is your school, colleges, and all of the socialization you do in your society, your friends and peer groups as well. So what really goes wrong is that, for example, your number one is medical reasons. You might have a very prolonged illness, which actually affected those neurons and those areas of your brains which are dealing your hormones. There are gateways and hormones pass through the certain gateways. Certain have certain numbers of gateways, and same goes for dopamine. And then there are some certain glands, adrenaline glands as well, adrenaline gland. So whatever, when things are started to hit those glands and those hormones, you start feeling panic attacks, and when not controlled. And the second situation is purely psychological in nature, when you are getting violence or all of those things, like your surroundings are not very negative and your surroundings are too much stressful. For example, you have gone through a very traumatic event as well, and something happens wrong to you, abuse, violence, and that directly inflict your those glands and those hormones, and you get into panic attack. And panic attack is the peak of your anxiety, phobia, and depression, when you're not being able to manage it.
Okay. And usually in Pakistan, what kind of a patients you're going to deal with on a daily basis?
There are people who doesn't have, like there are two categories, and the most of the categories which I have dealt is that there are people who the bad parenting have dealt with. Those would have achieved very high in their societies, but their bad parentings, like parents were successful, but they were psychologically not great, and they transferred it to their offsprings, to their children. Number one is that. Number two, the society itself, the culture of the society is not supportive, and the economic crisis, financial crisis, and all of those things. And thirdly, the patients of stomach, like their parasympathetic nervous systems were not good enough, like they were having weak stomach nerves naturally, and they got IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and whenever there's any problem in parasympathetic nervous system, it automatically affects your sympathetic nervous system, which is your psychological system, and vice versa is also applicable. So these were the people. They would have been managed well if the society has played well, if the institutions have played well. I have seen that. If I go for the percentage, 82% of the depression would have been cured in Pakistan if the parenting would have been great, and if the social institutions would have been supportive. And seriously, there are no social taboos, like they are not at extreme levels. They have been made extremes over the years. The depression has been turned out because Pakistani doesn't know how the depression got into its peak.
Agree.
I believe that if they would have in America, England, Canada, Norway, or any EU country, they would have taken 30 days to get out of it. And they would have been living very happy life, including myself as well.
Why is that so?
The reason is that like when you get into then there are hormonal changes. Some personalities are borderline. They get into anxiety, phobia, depression. And let's suppose like if a person gets thanatophobia. Thanatophobia is the fear of the death. I went to my mother or father like I'm afraid of death, and they was everybody is afraid of that.
Exactly.
What are you doing? And then certainly there are inferiority complexes. For example, if I'm going to school and my friend is telling me that his parents has bought him something, and then I come back and I tell my father I need certain things. These are the parenting rules. And the other thing is that like I'm having hormonal changes, and like there are things like which are attached with these hormonal changes when you become adulthood and you get into that age, and there's no one to guide you properly of what to do and what not to do. And certainly your nucleus accumbens are developed. Now you are not getting trained, and then you start finding solutions by yourself. And when you start finding solutions by yourself, your brain becomes more hyperactive because you don't get right solutions when you start finding it yourself at that age when you need guidance. So that's the reason, and we are destroying our youth as well in this case.
You're much right that we are destroying our youth in this case. And just coming to your point that about the mental education and at the early level, if I talk about at the family level or even at the grassroots level in our education institutions, how do you think that how much imperative it is to educate our young lot or our young bulge about that mental issues exist and mental illness exist, and this is the solution or this is the way that you can overcome any kind of mental illnesses? How much imperative it is?
I would like to reverse the question. We don't need to educate our youth on it. They are already educated. We need to educate our elders about it, which are creating issues. Because a 9-year-old daughter already knows, or son already knows something's happening wrong to him or her, because when it will happen. The problem is that like when they will report to the society, they have to report to their caregivers. They have to report to the people who are in authority. They are not aware about it. When they report their issues towards their authorities, we can call them parents, brothers, siblings, or outside like teachers, like who are teaching them school educations and all of their friends. They are not educated. They are not giving them proper guidance, like what they do, what they need to do the next. And secondly, what they do is that like they get the person to the psychiatrist and put them on the antipsychotics, antidepressants. They are necessary sometimes in these rare cases. But how he would be able to manage it, because or she would be able to manage it, because these are not curable pills. Why they are not curables? Because the problem of the depression, anxiety, and phobia is with those neurons which are learnt in nature. They cannot be treated by medicine. Medicine works on your viruses, bacteria, on those things which have to deal with your circadian clocks. But that is your suprachiasmatic clock, which is totally learned. Depression is learned by the mind. For example, if your stomach is not working properly, that's a problem. That can be problem of medical problem. But when there would be a depression due to your stomach issue, that would totally be learned problem. Now, if you would even heal your stomach, but the depression would prevail over there. Like there are very people, and now what people do, either people start getting antipsychotics and they start instead of dealing it. The main issue is that there are multiple comorbidities in a human being. You have to go to a certain list of doctors if you have multiple comorbidities. The patients come to me to cure their depression. They are having parasympathetic issues, that their stomach is not working good. They have irritable bowel syndrome. Now what they should do, they should take the treatment of their mental health from me, and they should go to the stomach gastroenterologist, the enterologist, gastroenterologist, like who are experts of the stomach. So then those issues would be resolved at the parallel stage. Then they would be able to get out of it. Now we need to educate these elders that this mental illness is real. For my friends' parents have certainly told me it's all about the mind games. Whatever you told your mind, it becomes. It's not that easy. These are the automatic obsessions. Then it's a habit of your mind to think 24/7 negative, then negative emotions, and then those neurons, post-amino acid profiles, your brain regions are not working appropriately because your thoughts are not developing with the accurate shapes, and then your behaviors are uncontrolled, and there's a whole circle. So when you will be able to train these authorities that this is the depression, this is anxiety, phobia, it is real, but it works in a different manner than the medical sciences. It is intangible, Medical sciences is tangible. But now this intangible has tangibility in the sense of neurosciences. We study the brain functionings. We get to know that how scientifically minds put you in depression. So we need to train them, not these young generations. They're already trained. And then those authorities would train these young generations who are taking care of them. And then, inshallah, there would be less depressive cases.
Okay, you're right. Inshallah, it will happen. And what do you think that what is the most severity of the cases? Whether these are disorders, panic attacks, anxieties, or phobias, what are the crucial stages? What are the initial stages? And what are the stages that could be overcome by the patient himself or
It's
herself?
a great question. I will take my example because we have learned in psychology the perfect example is someone who is near around yourself. If when I was having my first panic attack when I was in matric, I was preparing for my physics paper. That was the only time when I felt peace in my mind, and I'm continuously struggling for my life. But I'm manageable now. The reason is that like if my mother have taken me, or if my brother or my siblings have taken me to a proper psychologist who is like these are the things we need to know. Psychology is not about talk therapy. Talk therapy is good when you're having relationship issues. For example, like husband and wife issues and all of these kind of issues require talk therapy. But when you're having a proper anxiety, phobia, and depression, you have to have a talk therapy based on the scalings, not a general talk therapy. I can't because if I'm licensed psychologist, I'm not allowed to do that. I'm not allowed to give you an example without any scaling. Why? Your mind can go into suicidal ideation. You know, a psychotherapist is much more dangerous than a psychiatrist. The pills would not kill you as faster as a bad psychologist would do that. And generally, these like students who are in BS and MS, they have ruined so many lives, including mine as well. Because when in my time, when I was having my bipolar episode for the first time, if my mother would have taken me to a licensed psychologist who know like there's a proper scaling based classwork, homework, and there are proper international scalings, ICD-10s and DSM-5 and Access 1 to 6, and they are maintained of a kind. You have to invest. The Pakistani people are not understanding that being 18 years in a depression will cost you 10 to 15 lakh, 20 lakh. But why you are not being able to spend 60 days, 50,000, 60,000, spend 50,000 rupees, 60,000 rupees on your life, self-invested, get out of it and unback. And but you are just giving 500 rupees to a psychiatrist, 2,000 rupees to a psychologist, and afterwards not following that treatment properly, and then being 18 years and 35 years in a depression and wasting lakh of rupees. Once you would be able to get 30 sessions or 60 sessions in a complete classwork and homework environment on proper basic scalings, then you would be able to control throughout your whole life. You would be able to control it. Afterwards, once in a blue moon, when the problem is so much high, you can't control it. Even I'm a psychologist, I call another psychologist. You can just call it and you already know the solutions. Just getting the professional catharsis because the doctor doesn't judge you. And that's the reason. Only 30 to 60 sessions continuously can bring you out forever in your life. And then once in a blue moon. If my mother would have taken me to the psychologist and he would have worked, now I know myself, for 30 days continuously, if that psychologist had worked on me through proper scalings which I am applying and through proper homework and classwork, I would have been out of it. I wouldn't have done 2 suicides. But what happened to me, I was dealt wrongly. So the treatment preferences of this Pakistani society are so pathetic. You can believe me, my counseling fee, all-in counseling fee is rupees 2,000. A guy was in a depression for 12 years. He gave me 2,000 rupees, took a session. He was good. After 4 days, he texted me, "You've taken my 2,000 rupees and I'm not getting out of depression." Bro, you would not be able to do that throughout your whole life with this approach.
Exactly.
Go through the proper 30 to 60, as per DSM-5, 30 continuous sessions. ICD 60 England, proper, and America. 60 sessions, continuous, with proper homework and classwork, being closely attached with the psycho. And nowadays you can take online treatment because your mental illness doesn't need face-to-face interventions.
Exactly.
Because we are trained for it. We are providing online treatments and all of those stuff because we are already trained for it. We have scalings for it, and we just need those information which you can give me over here, and even while sitting at your home, which I needed. and I have to do screenings on those basis. But they're not being able to understand that. My client, which I told you now is running a store, he was so much mentally disturbed. His wife left him. He used to animal voices, like he used to utter animal voices. He took 60 sessions, continuous sessions with me, and I can show you the, but obviously it's a confidentiality. And now he's living a very normal life because he was not that guy. After 4 days, he said, like, I have already spent my life and I have already lost each and everything. Do whatever you want to do in these 60 days. And he kept on, and we maintained the proper records and proper scalings, and within the 1 month he was back. He told me, now I am back and I don't want to proceed. I said, no, go for other therapy as well. And he later on, 2 days back, he was telling me, you were right. I was thinking that I am wrong, because there's a period of athymia when a client thinks that he is all right. But we know there are some certain things which are missing. There are energy flows and readjustment of the brains we have to do in the next 30 days. And then now he is living his life and he doesn't need any psychotherapies or any medications. So this is how what I dealt with as well. So this is things are how goes on. The concept of natural medicine which I introduced in Pakistan, what was the reason? The reason was that, like, you would have a customized natural medication, and that would be for 3 months at least. And within that, I will provide you all of the psychological tools. You have to perform them. Even if you can't afford them, I will give you them free of cost. And then if you would be able to follow it continuously for 3 months, throughout your whole life, you will hit you. Like, you will be managing it through your whole life. You would not be begging for other people to do that. But like, these Pakistani people are like, they torture me seriously. I want to use it like my mental health is also very important, because if I would be happy, I would be able to do good treatment. I'm really working hard. So they are not being able to understand that they are becoming victim. When you are in depression and you're telling that I'm a victim, this is not how you get out of your mental health. My doctor told me, Dr. Ellen told me, I said, like, this is what my mind is doing. He said, Arslan, this is what your mind has to do in depression, nothing new. My mind has done the same thing, nothing new. But what you have to do is that you have to change your attitude. Well, last month I was going through a very hard period of my life. Like, there were some problems as well. I was taking the sessions and I was giving them the life, and there was nothing in my paralinguistic which can tell them that I'm depressed, because I manage it, because I think constructively that I have to go through that cost, but at the end of the day I have to resolve those issues, and alhamdulillah I resolved them, and with the passage of time, and now I'm sitting in front of you. And if I felt the same things, those same panic attacks. I'm doctor of psychology. I felt then those same things, those lifelessness, those hopeless. But what I didn't restricted myself to the bed, because I have trained my mind in such a way that you have to live with dignity and you have to die with dignity, but not in the fantasy world. With this, I have trained my mind in the spectacle world.
You're much right. And Arslan, if I'm a person, how would I know that I'm just involved in some mental illnesses, or I have some sort of panic type of situation, or some disorders, or even some anxieties? How would I come to know?
That's a very great question. Now we need to talk about your internal situation. If you are having your automatic obsessions, automatic thoughts, this is the first sign that you are going to become part of your anxiety, phobia, or depression. The initial sign is that you are having automatic thoughts, which are not in your control. And now they becomes a chain, and those chains are irrational in nature. For example, you would be in past too much, you would be in future, but you're not in present. Second is that you have no pleasure. For example, your mind is so much preoccupied that you're not being able to be happy, neither you cannot even correspond to your external environment in the healthier manner. For example, somebody told you somebody has died, you will say, okay, if it has died, what I can do? Because your mind is already preoccupying you. And then this is the first stage. And if I talk about the behaviorism, which is a school of thought in psychology, they focus at your explicit behaviors which are being shown to the other person. If your child or if any person is showing uncontrolled behaviors, uncontrolled movements of the hands, uncontrolled movements of the body, and even uncontrolled laughing, uncontrolled crying, and uncontrolled aggression, irritation, and then the third thing is that your sleep patterns would disturb. Either you are sleeping too much, or either you are into manic, in your hypomania. That is, you are not being able to sleep if you are trying to sleep, and and then there are energy shiftings. that you are feeling too much energy at one point, or you're feeling too less energy. Are you feeling your emotions at the left wise, too less, or right wise, too much? For example, if you're happy, you're so much happy. And it's not all about bipolar. This is the wrong concept of the Google, google.com. It's wrong concept. Bipolar is not simply the mood disorder.
Okay.
It's the mood disorder, but not only the mood disorder. In every anxiety, phobia, depression, your energy would shift in the extremism.
Okay.
For example, if you have a happy emotion, it would be too much. If you have a sad emotion, it would be too much. So there would be no mean position. If you're not being able to find your mean position for 15 days, it means now please go for the treatment.
Okay.
15 days is the criteria. It is the 20 days, but I'm cutting it short because you don't cross it. So 15 days is the criteria. If you're feeling these thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, and this pattern, or if you're observing someone, so let that person go to the psychiatrist, to the psychologist. Don't intervene towards the antipsychotic. Psychologist will decide like whether the antipsychotics or antidepressants are needed or not. Then he can refer it to the psychiatrist.
Okay.
Sorry, this is very important. Please don't directly go to psychiatrist, because psychiatrist is someone who is only trained to know your symptoms and to give you and to prescribe you the pills which are not curable.
Okay.
And you can MedPub, you can read all of the research articles. It's not what I'm saying. So the second is that psychologist is someone who knows about the why something is happening. Your heartbeat is rising in a particular situation. Your psychiatrist will come to know your heartbeat is rising, and he will give you olanzapine or any beta blocker. But why it is?
Exactly.
In depression, anxiety, phobia, you need to overcome why. You need to overcome those whys, the values of the mind which are distorted, and then you would be able to overcome the any symptom which is prevailing.
Okay.
So what happens in foreign country, whenever there are issues of mental health, they are being referred to the social workers. So social workers are the psychologists, clinical psychologists, and licensed. They decide after scales whether which kind of interventions further clients need. Whether the clients need medications. If medications, then what kind of medications? Natural medications, antidepressants. For example, if a person is having schizophrenia, then he has to take antipsychotics. There is no other solution. I'm telling you, for example, it depends upon the severity of the case, but it will be decided by the doctor of psychology. In foreign countries, you cannot practice it without license, and you get license after PhD. In Pakistan, after BS, MS, and they don't have any. The Google, they are just doing, because I have written so many theses of the MS students, and they are practicing over here. I don't want to take their names. So what they can do in future. So they have hired me. They have paid me. I know, like I'm saying very wrong, false thing, but it's the reality of Pakistan. So over there, the psychologist will decide like what kind of further intervention, apart from psychiatrists, what system can do for them. Their job place, their school place, even the letters are being written by the psychologists, and clinical notes are being written. Their license stamp is over there, and they forward it to all the social institutions which are directly or indirectly linked with that client. For example, if I'm working in XYZ company and I'm having bipolar, my psychologist has all the authority to write a letter, to approve it from the state, and send to my organization, deal this client in this manner, until you have to pay for it if you will not do that. And they will take the responsibility for the treatment. This is how it works. But in here, if you have bipolar and your employer come to knows about it, he says, okay, Allah Hafiz.
Exactly. That's all right.
You are not good for our organization.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then psychologists take the responsibility to the employer that you will get your job done. That's my responsibility. But the state has instructed the employer not to fire him in this case, on the basis of this mental illness. This is how things happen in foreign country, and we are just like way behind.
Exactly, you're way behind. You're much right. And just a question arose that's connected with this question: that what are the best practices that been adopted by the outer world, and why we are far behind?
Actually, we are unheard. For example, this is the platform where I can put my heart out, and I can share my word that I'm having bipolar and all of those things, and I'm already feel good. And when people support me in this case, because now they support me because I have reached at a point where they have to support me. If they will not support me, it doesn't affect me, because I have seen all of those things, like you are doing it intentionally and all of those things. I have been out of it. What happens, like in foreign countries? Firstly, mental illness is not a stigma. For example, like if you're telling your friend, like, Mark, I'm feeling depression, he said, all right, my mother was feeling it as well, and these things happens, And what you have to do is that like these are the things like which you can do. And like if somebody tells for example the boss to the boss, like boss, I'm not feeling well and I'm having automatic thoughts, he will tell you, I also used to feel it, Mark, I have the same problems. What you can do is that like you can just go to the certain psychologist, she is very good or he is very good. Their conversation is very normal. When I deal foreign country clients, they already know like what is it. I don't have to tell them that this is the period of time. They say we know it's not curable or it's curable, it's manageable. We just need a help because our society supports us. And right now we are just here for the professional catharsis because you don't judge us. I have clients from Norway, America, England, and all of Canada as well right now. But the problem is that like their practices are very stronger from the very grassroots level. They have psychologists who train their children that psychology exists, your problems exist, and you have to share them. For example, if I'm sitting over here and I will say, mother, I'm just going to a psychologist because I'm having a bad day. She will say that that's a great idea, just go and share your worries. But over here, if I say, Mama, I'm just going to a psychologist, are you mad?
Exactly.
Are you a psycho case?
Exactly.
They don't
So
stigmatize it. There's a normal routine, and then there are community management teams over there. The catharsis, the means of catharsis are so much. For example, if you are a patient of bipolar, each day when you will open your door, there will be offers out there. 70% off, 80% off, and those activities which will distract your mind. But over here, people are using wrong means to deal with depression and going into guilt because their religion is also not allowing them. I hope like you got the point. They are doing those practices because they have nothing else to open the mobile and to watch those videos and to do those things which are not allowed in our religion as well. And they get into more because dopamine shifting is so high in that process that, and the shared guilt is so much high that they get into more depression. So they are unhurt and they have no means of catharsis. For example, in Islamabad, let's suppose if I start a group and I say like it's let's cure depression together, and there are a number of seats over there where all the people who are facing depression are sitting over there, and there's a platform on the stage, and I tell them to share their talent and share their stories each week, and their depression would not be able to kill them. Even in Islamabad, if I start doing that, there's an American psychologist who started doing it. But it got badly failed because people are less expressive when they are depressive in nature.
Agree.
Our parents were not accepted; they were depressive, and now our brother, our elder brother, would never accept that he has faced through depression because now people are opening up, but they don't really open up because there was the American psychologist Jennifer. She came over here in barrier phase 8. She started that process of American process, and I met her. She said, "I'm badly failed in this." Because the process was that she was having a very beautiful environment, just like this studio, and there were chairs and there was a stage. You don't only have to talk about your depression, phobia, anxiety, but you can share your struggle stories and your talent as well. And the program was meant for each Friday, and for those who were severely depressed, Wednesday and Friday, 2 days. But there were very few people who were arriving over there, so she quit that program. But if we started doing that, can I take the name because they tried to did it.
Sure.
Soch was the organization who tried to did it in Pakistan, and they quit it. They said like they were so much affordable, but people are into popping out pills. Outer world has trained them that antipsychotics and depressants are not curables. Please, you have to, even if you have to take them, but you cannot take them throughout your whole life. So what you have to do is that you have to perform those psychotherapies and these mode of catharsis. And that's why they are depressive, they are still high achievers and they are living like normal people and they are managing it. But in Pakistan, doctor Sahab, which tablet I should take, and I'm taking for a particular tablet for 18 years, and if we went out of the doctor room, the doctor is not good because I have treated from him. No, the doctor role is only 20%. The 80% role is yours. How? Because you have to go get those specific therapies done, and you have to find the means of catharsis and all of your, you can say like how you can get yourself heard. No, the problem is not with the client as well. The government is not supportive. Like, what are the means of catharsis? I don't know. Even I'm living in Islamabad, and if I go back around when I first got panic attack, what I can do? The psychologist fees are so much high, I can afford it. I can afford it. If I would, monthly expense would be 70,000 if I would take those sessions, proper sessions in Islamabad right now. Few years back, I was in a bad state. My friend was looking out for a psychologist, and he said like there is no psychologist Islam is affordable right now, because I was not in a state to correspond. Then I started thinking that this is what happening. There are people out there who are taking 5,000 rupees for per session. They are only MS and they are only doing talk therapy, and they start counting time after 40 minutes. Now only 5 minutes are left, and after 40 minutes they say, you can do this, you can do that. But there are no scalings, no homeworks, because they know like when they will get into the original psychology, they will need to give time. My session starts. My sessions are ends at 1 or 30 minutes. My wife gets irritated from me that your sessions why. One session I took for 4 hours. He paid me for only 40 minutes. I took for 4 hours, and that client might be listening to me right now. Because if client is supportive, if I feel anything that I can do something good for the client, I give the time. I give in 4 hours. My wife was waiting outside, and after 4 hours, my wife said, "Now you go and marry that client." So this is happening because I just see the value. I am ready to put efforts in you if you have some value. You have to bring some value in me. As I brought value to my psychologist, and he put all of his efforts to cure me. And that's why I'm sitting over here. Now you have been living over here. What are if you get into some trouble, how you would get hurt? You can get hurt because how many platforms do you know? We don't know any platforms for being hurt. And how many projects are there? Like they are having a very beautiful room, and once in a week, those people get together and they share their life struggles, their talents as well. And once you get these kind of activities, and if I talk about Islamabad, there is one club which is not even affordable. They're not even affordable. We need these kind of clubs as well, which can distract you, but there's no affordability. So that's why our depression gets prolonged, and our teachers, our professors are suffering from it as well.
You're much right, and undoubtedly that we have many loopholes. What do you think? How government can support, such sectors to overcome, mental illnesses, and especially these kind of, panic attacks and disorders you just talked about?
Right now, if I talk about the truth, because I am part of a government project as well, I just forgot there's an app, government app. I just forgot about the name because they themselves have forgot that as well. It's installed in my. But they started a project, and the project was started by NITB as well, because the app was developed by NITB, government of Pakistan, and they grouped the number of psychologists and psychiatrists, and they said like the clients would be able to go to that app and get free of cost consultations. But that cannot be possible. I am part of that as well.
Okay.
But that app is no more working. Not updated, not working. It's been after the 15 days, stopped working. Because if somebody is contacting me, I'm a psychologist over there, why should I waste my time on you for free of cost? Because it's a capitalism. I have to run my kitchen. I have my colleagues over there. So what we used to do is that, now I'm telling the reality, we used to get registered on those apps because we knew government of Pakistan has no organization, no body, and how they could take any action against us. Because psychology has no proper body. What is APA? Sorry, what is PPA? Pakistan Psychological Association. A small group of members created that organization. They have no work. They don't know about themselves that they exist. It's not APA, American Psychological. It's PPA. I'm sorry, like don't take any action. They can't even do that. So sorry. So it's a small organization built by some students, and now it's like it's the only body which is working and doing nothing. So what happens? Like we used to get the consultations. We want those clients to get over there, and we get over what we get credibility that we are linked with government through that app. And then we used to tell them that the procedure is very expensive, and this is how things. Then you have to come up with a clinic, or you have to take the online treatment, which is not possible on this app. This was happening, and the people over there who were using those apps were those like who wanted free of cost training because they were not being able to afford that. So that's why the idea collapsed very badly. There must be a mental health insurance like in foreign countries. There's a difference between your medical insurance and your mental health insurance.
Okay.
Your mental health insurance is a prepaid insurance. For example, if you have an insurance, you come to me, the insurance company would already have released the money. You don't have to claim for it.
Okay.
You don't have to claim for the money. But you have to have a license.
Mhm.
Because, for example, if a licensed psychologist forward the insurance company with the help, client has to forward and the insurance company call the licensed psychologist, and the client is telling us that he's going to take the session. He says yes. The insurance company, without any documentations, will forward the money to the client's account, to the psychologist's accounts, and he can take as many sessions as he needs because the money is being covered by the monetary financial problem has been covered by the insurance companies. But we don't have any mental health insurance. Even our medical insurances are not credible. For example, if we go to a doctor, then we have to take that prescription, those MD stamps, and then afterwards, after 1 month, 2 months, and afterwards we will get the reclaim reimbursements. So we need these kind of things to go in the faster way.
And one more thing that you just mentioned, that we more rely on drugs and medications rather than just have some, psychological therapies. Why is that so? Why we want some rapid change? Why we want some, more steady things to be happen in our lives?
The problem is that this is our passive training of our society. Our society is trained in a manner that medicine is the cure of each and everything. Our society has not been trained that there is also autoimmune system in the body who works according to the surroundings and situations, and it has the ability to conquer it. But it takes time. We as a society are very passive in nature. We don't think about the long term. This is, for example, a foreign person is doing something, he thinks about the 100 generations. Our mentality starts from here, that we only think about ourselves. It would get extended. In Australia, when a cricketer went back, the father asked whether your team wins or not. When we come back, our father asks, what was your personal score in the match and how much trophies you have won.
Okay.
Now this is the mentality that also is applicable over here as well. We have been trained that every solution is a medicine. In foreign countries, nutraceuticals are banned without prescription. In Pakistan, vitamin K, vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin K, vitamin P, D, E, F, G are available in stores of every company. The outdated companies, and they are using those faces famous faces to sell their multivitamins. You cannot take multivitamin without doctor prescription. Even PMDC has banned it in Pakistan last week, but still they are being sold in pharmacies. Why? If you are taking a particular vitamin, taking vitamin is not a big deal. Your body already has capacity to do that. You don't need to take those calcium tablets on a daily basis. For example, if I talk about myself, I need a natural diet to maintain my calcium, because the calcium which I need in my body is in a very little amount. Excess of these vitamins can cause cancer in your body, and without proper prescription. Why? If you are taking a particular vitamin, how you would absorb it? You don't know you don't know personally how to absorb a particular medicine, because there are particular things you have to do to make that vitamin absorb in you. And if it don't absorb, it will get in excess and it can cause a cancer in you. And there's so many other adverse effects which you will face by those multivitamins which you are thinking and taking as you can say as a sweet, because it has no side effect. Every medicine has a side effect. You cannot say if any medicine you are taking and popping it has no side effects. When you have popped it, you have a side effect. No, we are not aware about it. Might be you will go over there and you will buy a calcium tablet. You don't need it. These are the pharmaceutical companies enjoying billions of dollars. And I don't want to talk about it. There's a authority in Pakistan, official authority, in the name of money, they are doing corruption, and they are allowing these pharmaceutical companies. If we talk about American FDA, Okay, I'm talking about American FDA. They are not doing manipulations. There are so many drugs in Pakistan which are being, I can take the names, which are being sold in Pakistan but being banned by the American FDA. Why? Because our same institution is getting money from these pharmaceutical companies, and there are certain companies this authority is not allowing them to work in Pakistan. Their medicines are very effective. Their medicines are, you can say, the safest, but they are not giving them money, and that's why they're not being. They have a monopoly. The medicine companies have a monopoly, and our mindsets have been built that when you will pop up the pill, you will get all right. Now, these kind of mental issues require 6 months, at least 6 months of your personal well-being. Initially, you would not face anything, any improvement. You will kept on doing it, and after 6 months, your whole life will be survived. but I have taken antidepressants for 10 years.
Uh-huh.
What they have given me? They have only given me sleep, a state of unconsciousness, a mid state between conscious and unconscious, and suicides, and 2 suicides, suicidal ideations, nothing else. And those who have worked on me, they have given me addiction, nothing else. Harmful.
You're much right, and it is very.
I would say give yourself natural time, psychotherapies, catharsis, and all of these things, activities. Initially, it will take slow and steady with the race. In medical illness, a slow and steady lose the race, but in psychological illness, slow and steady wins the race. The more faster you will try to overcome it, the more prolonged it will become. To give 6 months of your life on a proper treatment. Don't change your psychologist, and don't just because of few days and few weeks. Go follow that prolonged path, and after 6 months, your whole life would be on a track, manageable track.
Inshallah, on a manageable track. You're much right. There are many loopholes, but we need to overcome it, and with our maturity, and with our own consciousness, that how much we are health conscious about ourselves. And Arslan, as we are running short of time, what is your message to our audience and our listeners that are listening to us on social media and without frequency?
My message is that don't have lofty goals. Always have some sincere goals with yourself. Don't run after the fake life of social media where youth is really draining themselves while watching TikToks and all of those. These are planned fantasies which are being planned in your mind. Might be a husband might be looking very good on social media, TikTok, and a 13 years old girl might be thinking those fantasy dreams, but on the back of the stage might be they are fighting cruelly with each other.
Exactly.
Make your real life healthier. Have your friends. Don't have your friends from the social media. Just make a goal of your life, and your balanced life would be when you will control it through the certain number of activities, and those activities must be physical in nature, spiritual in nature. You need to identify your goal existence. Thirdly, which I need to do is that make your life value driven. Might be like this will help you as well. What I have learned from my bipolar, make your life value driven. We are people driven. Don't throw yourself to anyone emotionally. Because, for example, people driven is that when you rely on people, even in a love relationship, you throw yourself emotionally. Be value driven. You have to make connections. You have to do anything. Just make sure if that thing is getting you value. And that is not selfishness. Selfishness is something when you want other person to be harmed to get yourself done right. And being selflessly selfish is that when you don't want to hurt anyone, but you want to make your own life, and charity begins from at home. So be value driven. For example, if I'm sitting over here and I'm thinking that Sohaib is a very bad guy and he has done so many things wrong, if I'm getting so much anger, and if I will start beating Sohaib, is that value-driven approach?
No.
Or would it help me to reach my goal?
No.
Form your aims and goals, and then be value-driven. That certain acts must be avoided if they are putting no positivity in your path, in your journey. And if certain acts are putting positivity and constructive, if they are making you more close to your goals, then do them. For example, one of my friends called me. He said, you have been humiliated in your previous government organization. Now call them and abuse them. I said, sure, for sure, I'll do that. If I will call them and abuse them, it's not value-driven. It's against my value-driven approach. It will not give me value. But it can give me value when they will call me one day, and those same people have to respect me when they don't want to respect me. And I will be more closer to my aims and goals. That's the thing. To be value-driven, don't be people-driven. And don't emotionally exploit yourself in the name of relationships.
You are much right, and thank you so very much once again, Dr. Arslan Akhtar Ali, for being with us and sharing your views on this important topic, and your audience, as we were just discussing about that, how to live a balanced life. And Dr. Arslan Akhtar Ali, once again, he was in our studios and shedding light on this important topic, and he just shared his fruitful insights on this, important issue as well. And what we came to know today, that avoid self-medication, avoid more medication, and always try to give value to yourself. And you need to listen, people, but don't just implement all the things that people want to say about you and about yourself. Just have your own thought, just have your own mental level, just have your own values that need to be implemented by yourself, and it would bring, of course, a beauty in your life, and it will have some positive implications in your life, and of course you will see the life with a new vision, with a new canvas, and with a new more beautiful focused arena. And with this, dear audience, we're gonna just sign off. Allah Hafiz, fi amanillah, and stay blessed.